Hey collectors, welcome to Star Wars Collected. I'm Jonathan. Me back here, me behind the giant box. Guess what we're going to be unboxing today, guys? This is the Pyre helmet from Galaxy's Edge, Darth Vader's own. Really excited to unbox it with you guys. Let's get started. So if you watched my Star Wars Galaxy's Edge haul video, you know that this was coming. I'm super excited to open it with you guys. This is about the biggest box I think you can bring home from Galaxy's Edge, short of ordering that full-size R2-D2, I think. Despite my best efforts to pick out the best box, we do have some pretty crunched corners here. One little tidbit that I will pass along is that you can ship anything that you buy at Disney home. You need the receipt, and you need to have all the items together at the same time. But I was able to ship home a ton of merchandise for about $40. So I think, you know, they do it based off of price. So if you were to ship home a super expensive crystal piece, even if it was only a few inches by a few inches, that would still cost you a decent chunk of money to ship home. However, if you were to ship home, I don't know, a giant balloon, which they probably wouldn't even do, that only cost you, you know, at Disney, it probably cost you 15 bucks at least. But you know, it was huge. Even though it was a giant box, they would only charge you a little bit for it. But it must stop at a certain point. At a certain point, they must no longer charge above that, because I shipped home a lot of stuff and I thought the shipping was extremely reasonable. I was expecting to spend hundreds of dollars. So like I said, a little bit of crunch corners. Oh well, boo-hoo, we'll get over it. I wish I could try to show you guys here inside the box. Maybe I'll tip it forward here. So here's our first sneak peek inside of the box. Actually, this might be pretty helpful to turn it this way. And we can see that it's all wrapped up. It's got a really thick piece of styrofoam around it. So despite a couple crunch edges, I'm sure the piece itself is in fine form inside here. I'm gonna use my head for the first time today and see if I can't use it to hold that flap. And we've got it coming out here. All right, let's get rid of this box. Now, don't quote me on this, but people online, when this came out, they're pretty convinced that this is using the same molds or same scans or something as some of the really high-end collectible stuff that is available out there. I believe EFX was thrown out at one point. I'm not sure if the prop store was thrown out as well, but people are pretty convinced that Disney has licensed or something one of the really high-end manufacturers' piece. And then when you look at the price tag of this, which is $350, certainly not cheap, but almost any good mass-produced helmet or not mass-produced helmet is going to cost you at least that, often twice that. So for this to be, you know, the size that it is, being sold by Disney, officially licensed, and to have a cool base with it and all that stuff, $350 I think is actually pretty darn reasonable. I am kind of shocked that it's not like a $500 piece or something like that. You know, imagine you have, you know, not a huge obsession like what you see behind me. Imagine you just have a nice office or something like that. This piece sitting on your table or whatever would be very impressive. It would look very cool, even if it's not surrounded by other Star Wars items. So I have not really seen this one, especially up close. This is actually my first time looking at it with you guys, and it has a ton of detail. Now, a fellow collector, a friend of mine, Evan the Collector, he has one of these as well, and he was a little displeased with the paint job, and I can kind of see that. It looks good. It looks very metallic, almost as if it is meant to be a metal representation of it. I think it could probably use a lot of black. You know, when something like this gets charred, it is going to turn colors. The black is going to maybe turn towards more of a carbon gray or something like that. But I could see going in here with an airbrush or even just a wash and really darkening up some of these deeper crevices just to bring out all the detail. If you guys can see it here, there is a ton of detail on this mask. I'm gonna go ahead here and grab my Lazy Susan, put that on here so that we can really get a great look at it. So I know the sequel trilogy, you know, has its lovers, has its haters. Newsflash, Star Wars is divisive. But even if you didn't particularly love the story or love the characters, I think there were some really incredible designs and moments that came out of it. And I would think that this is one of them. You know, this is something that makes a lot of sense. You know, we saw Darth Vader get burned on Endor, to have his sort of, you know, last moment with Luke type thing. And it would make sense that there would end up being this sort of mutilated helmet. Now, if you go online, you can find the actual helmet from that Pyre. It does not look anything like this, but this is such a more twisted version of it. You can kind of see the hatred and the anger, like this face, how it's so ripped apart, looks very Sith-like. And this base is very cool. I love that it's a triangle. The triangle shows up here and there in sort of Sith type things. My wife has a huge affinity for triangles, so I kind of do now too. It's a cool shape to have it, and it's even sort of like a two-tiered base system. So it's a very, very nice display base. I can say that there are a couple marks here and there where the paint is not perfect, but I am willing to forgive that. It doesn't have to be perfect, and it doesn't have to, you know, be perfect to fit this piece, because this piece is so sort of mangled and things of that nature. What's cool is you can still see things that you'll recognize from the mask. So there's a little tusk right here, and there's like a little microphone respirator type thing, which I believe we see on the inside of the mask. You still kind of have the nose cavity here. You have parts of the grill at the front here, and even parts kind of dripping down below the sort of deck that it sits on. And then it's just sort of twisted, sort of like a jaw has been ripped to the side, which adds a lot of character to it, quite honestly. And then of course the eye sockets, and you know, you've got these very pronounced cheekbones. There's even what kind of almost looks like a little, it's not a fingerprint, but like a little tool mark right here, which actually looks pretty cool too. Just a fantastic sculpt, really. I do agree with Eben in that I could see me taking either a wash or my airbrush to this and just bringing it out a little bit more. I'll have to look. I believe he had a friend of his touch his up a little bit, and I can see me doing the same. But the sculpt, the base, is what I'm really excited about. So I may have mentioned that I already had a Pyre helmet in my collection. It's 3D printed. I'm gonna go grab that real quick and we're gonna compare the two together. I'm feeling like this is one of those situations where you don't really see what's wrong with what you have until you see what is possible. So this is my 3D printed version. I actually bought this before I even had a 3D printer. I think I picked it off of eBay or something of that nature. I remember getting a pretty good price on it, which is probably why I pulled the trigger on it. And you know, there are 3D printing lines on it. So it doesn't look the best, but the way I've kind of stored it in my collection has sort of been on a lower shelf, sort of in the shadows. I've actually put it with Kylo Ren's helmet that I have from a Novos. And it really hasn't been all that noticeable, even though I'm a huge stickler for not liking 3D printed ridges, but there's also sort of this burnt effect to it. For some reason, it kind of works to me. Right off the bat though, you're gonna notice that the scale is tremendously different. Not even close. I mean, I'm trying to line them up here in the front, and you're probably looking at another 5 to 6 inches off the back here. So the scale of this is just so much smaller. And you know, when I think about it, yeah, Vader's helmet is a really big helmet, and this really is too small. I am going to give the original maker some credit though, even though it's far from perfect. If you consider this to be perfect, if you consider this to be the most screen accurate, which I don't know if it is, you know, they still got a lot of cool main things right. They've got the tusk here, and the tusk coming out here, the little grill pieces here, and the little kind of microphone thing, and the one eye being stretched and the other one being a little less. And this panel and this panel are very similar. This little crevice here, that little crevice there, this little wrinkle above the eyebrow, the wrinkle there. They got the little cavity in the head here. You know, this one's maybe a little bit more of a trench run as far as the way that it's done, where this one's got one hell of a hole here on the side. And as we move across the back, I don't necessarily think we had maybe a great on-screen representation of what the back looked like. So, you know, there's a massive kind of divot on this one, and this one is just sort of a smoothed off bulge. And as we move around the back, kind of the same idea again, although we do start to pick up some details again. But this entire like top open gape area is sort of just a trench on this one. And we're missing kind of this area on this one as well. So, you know, someone did one great hell of an attempt on this piece, and this piece has served me very well. But, you know, comparing the two of them, there's really no contest. I'm very pleased that I picked this one up. Sometimes I have hesitations, you know, I already have something in my collection that represents this moment or represents this character from Star Wars. Do I really need another one, or do I need maybe the upgrade? Sometimes the upgrades are worth it. In this situation, the upgrade was worth it. In something like the Anovos Kylo Ren helmet, that upgrade was worth it off of the Black Series one. So sometimes it's worth it. Other times, I think the Black Series Mandalorian helmet is just as good, if not better, than the EFX one that I saw at Star Wars Celebration. So, you know, that's not always the case. But my final thoughts and recommendations on this would be, if this is of interest to you and you have the space to put it in your collection, you know, the box that it was in was huge, and the box I shipped in it was even more huge. But you know, it's not enormous. You know, it's about the space that you'd give a helmet, maybe a helmet and a half. If you have the space in your collection and you like this design, I think for $350, it's kind of a bargain. From coming from a Disney park, I could have seen this being sold for, you know, $350 for $500, something of that nature. As I look inside, I'm seeing fiberglass. So now that I know that at least part of it, if not all of it, is actually fiberglass, I'm even more impressed, because fiberglass tends to be more expensive than something that's been, you know, resin or plastic molded. So now I'm definitely on board. I think $350 is a steal for this piece, but I do think it could use some black, and the black will not only help kind of maybe bring down the shine a little bit, but especially in areas where you have a lot of detail in this area, it's gonna create some contrast. It's gonna make those details pop more. You're gonna get more credit for having the tusk and the little microphone respirator thing here and all these different things going on. So I'm actually pleased as punch with this thing, more so than what I expected to be. So I would highly endorse this piece. So if you're heading to Galaxy's Edge, this might be a great piece for you to pick up. Collectors, there you have it. That is my review and unboxing of the Darth Vader Pyre helmet from Doc Ondar's in Batuu at Galaxy's Edge. You know, it is a really cool piece. I think it's one of the cooler pieces you can actually pick up. It is a huge box. It would be a huge hassle to carry around all day. So just go ahead and buy everything you want to buy early, buy this at the same time, take it over to the robot station and ship it all home for about 40 bucks. It is one hell of a deal, I think, on the shipping. So, you know, just go ahead and add that to the price. And even then, I think you're getting one great bargain. So guys, if you enjoyed this video, please give me a like. If you like videos like this, please subscribe. We have so many videos coming, so many hot toys and sideshow pieces and props, and everything you can think of is coming here very soon. And of course, there's a new collection room here coming before too long. So I'm so excited to share this journey with you guys. See ya.